Welcome everybody to the Footprint Deep Dive video series. My name's Trevor, and I'm going to be walking you through this session, which is what are footprints, and my colleague Anthony Drager will be sharing some of the future sessions together and tag teaming this. So hopefully you enjoy the entire series. This is kind of the fundamental session, though. What are footprints? The whole thing is about footprints and making sense of them, how to apply them. But this one is really going to go into detail of what they are. What is a footprint chart? So I'm not going to be getting into any strategy, too much strategy in this session at all. It's really to help you understand the core building blocks, the fundamentals of what footprints are, and then how you can begin to leverage them, and you'll see this unfold throughout these sessions. So that said, let's just jump right in. Many people come to Market Delta for the footprint chart, but it's important to state that we are the creator of the footprint chart. This is something we innovated back in 2002. I was really born at the CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and became publicly available in 2003. And I like to tell a little story about kind of how this all came about. It wasn't an accident. It was myself. I was trading at the CME upstairs. I was a member of the exchange, and had a headset on, listening to the pit, and somebody was quoting me the pit, and so I could hear what was going on in the pit, the lifting of the offers, the hitting of the bids, just the activity that was going on. And I'm sitting upstairs at the CME trading, looking at the screen, and it was very clear to me that there was a lot missing. You know, the candles and bar charts that I had up just lacked order flow. They lacked volume. I was trading blind with respect to what I knew was available in the pit. And long story short, put me on this quest to solve and somehow visualize this electronic trade data on screen for traders. Initially it was myself, but I ended up showing to other traders. They wanted it, and we commercialized the product. But the point is, it was something that just made sense. The markets were going digital or electronic. We had all this volume at price data, but charts just weren't making sense of it. So the footprint was born to make sense of it, put it on screen, visualize volume and order flow, volume at price, so that traders could really see the auction in a way that the floor traders, the pit traders, could see and feel the auction in the pit. So that's the quick story behind it. We have a couple of videos on our YouTube page you can check out for more of the story behind it if you're interested. So let's jump into our agenda today. I don't expect this session to go much more than an hour, but I'm going to give a detailed explanation of the 5 footprint types. They're the 5 core footprint types. We'll go into each one of those, and I'll show you what they look. We'll describe them, and I'll show you what they look like, kind of talk through that. And then, well, part of that will be a breakdown of each footprint type and how it's calculated. I want you just to understand kind of that. And then really the second half of this, we'll make extensive use of the Market Delta platform. In real time, you'll see these things building. We'll flip through some charts. I'll show you how to manipulate some of them, just get around briefly, but the main thing will be to see footprints. And for some of you, it may be the first time of really getting a good look at it, and it's my pleasure to walk you through that. So let's get into it. What are footprints? Well, it's a chart type, not a system. It's a chart type that lets you look inside the bar and well beyond open, high, low, close. So I'm going to say that again, because a lot of times people see red and green or blue and red on the footprint, and they think it's a system, red light, green light system, and it's not. It's a chart type. It simply lets you look inside the bar or see inside the chart, as we like to say, to have more granular information, but organized in a visual manner that allows you to take advantage of information that 99.9% of the traders out there don't have or simply don't have a clue exists. So you're in the minority in how you're viewing the markets, and that is a very good thing in the markets because we're all trying to find the edge, our edge, and this will really unlock a lot of things, a lot of new things that you're able to hopefully turn into an edge for your own trading. So another thing I like to, just an analogy that I like to say is, we use this inside the bar or inside the chart. Well, traders, we like to say, use footprints. Doctors do this same thing with x-rays. You wouldn't go to a doctor if he didn't have the ability to x-ray or do some MRI or something to be able to look inside below the surface to understand what's going on. And really the same thing goes with trading. Bars and candles are great. I use them personally. They show me chronological structure. I can see more bars in the chart, give me patterns that I can pull out from that. But it's just open, high, low, close. A footprint allows me to really see through and see underneath, give me that x-ray vision into a bar, how it's building, where the volume's occurring, where it's not occurring, and what that order flow looks like. So it's invaluable. Okay, so I've kind of already said this. The footprint displays price, volume, and order flow in a single, easy to read data point. And it's a logical breakdown of a bar, just simply price by price. It basically takes that bar, slices it up by price, and gives you that value-added information of volume or delta, or both in some cases, depending on the type of footprint you're looking at. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look, just a quick look at the difference between a candle and a footprint. All I want you to understand here is they're very similar in terms of what they show with respect to the core fundamentals of a candlestick or bar. So let me turn on my laser pointer, and you can see with a candle you've got the open here, it closed here, got the high right here and the low down here. With a footprint you have that same information. This green part, this green body, this would be your body of your candle. So here it opened down here and closed right here. And this up here would be the wick of the candle, and this would be the wick on the low side. What the numbers you see, and I'll get into that here in a little bit, but that is the footprint information. That's showing you volume, or in this case it's showing you breakdown of volume, and you can pull order flow out of that. But we'll go ahead and take a look at that. But this one is the imbalance footprint, and I'll get into all that in a moment. But the main thing I want you to see is candlestick versus footprint, and how you have the same information, but then it's like this exploded view to be able to really see inside the bar, as we say. So footprints consist of price, which is each row or cell in a footprint that represents a price or a series of prices. You can, as you'll see when I get into the real-time demo, you can collapse prices upon each other to aggregate the footprint data, and that's very useful for volatile instruments or stocks where you got lots of prices at trade. You don't need to necessarily see every one. You can just aggregate the prices and pull out useful information from that. Volume, that's displayed as a number in the cell. Order flow is conveyed through color, usually the background color of the footprint cell. That conveys the order flow, which as I go through this session and others, order flow is synonymous with the word delta. When we say delta, we mean order flow, okay? That's just an important side note. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. Price. So here we have basically, I'm showing a price scale here on the right side, and then we just have, this would be your current bar that's building of footprints. So if this was a candle, it opened here, it's currently trading here, and then these last three would be the wick. So notice each cell represents a price and the activity that took place at that price. That's all I'm going to say at this point. We'll get into these numbers in a little bit, but each cell here represents all the trading activity that took place at this price. volume. So this is the same graphic we just looked at, except this is actually the volume footprint. All it is it just totals up or shows a total of the volume that traded at each price. So you see it like it says here, displayed as numbers. Numbers in the cell. So here at 23.24 even, we had only 12 contracts or shares traded. Up at the high, we only had 9 contracts. So you can see immediately the footprint showing you value-added information in that these extreme prices have very little activity. It's these middle prices where all the trading's occurring. So you can actually see this middle price had the most volume of 549 contracts. Order flow. So now this is again, think delta, order flow or delta, is conveyed through color, which is your background color, and lets you know who's trying to influence price more. So who's being more aggressive, the aggressive buyer or the aggressive seller. So what you get here is really the net buying or the net selling that took place at each price. So if I just jump in, remember we had 9 contracts traded here. These are all in the offer, all aggressive buy orders that traded here. That's why it's a green background. And then minus 12, that's a negative delta, is down here at the low. So any negative number represents a negative delta, which represents or is synonymous with more aggressive selling. There was net selling, or I should say more sellers at these prices than buyers. So any red or negative would simply be more aggressive sellers or more sellers, and the green represents more aggressive buyers or more buyers. All right, hopefully that makes sense. And here I like to show them all side by side. These are the 3 graphics we just looked at: price, volume, and order flow. And I'll just take a moment to kind of walk you through the math piece here so you understand how this was even calculated. So if I add 294 plus 255, that equals 549. That's your total volume. This is the simplest view because it's a single number. They're all positive numbers because it's just the total volume at each price, and it makes sense. It just makes sense. The color here, it's all some shade of blue. That's how I had it set up in this case, and it just basically gives me the darker the shade, the more volume that occurred. The lighter the shade, the less volume that occurred. So sticking with this same price of 23.24 half, if we go all the way over to here, you can see minus 39, a negative delta. Well, this is described in more detail, and I take a little more time at this breaking it down in the Everything Delta session of the Deep Dive series. But it's essentially subtracting 294 from 255. That creates your negative number, which is negative 39. And so this footprint is the imbalance footprint, and it's very similar to the bid-ask footprint, which I'll be going through these in a moment, but it's showing you the bid traded volume on the left and the ask traded volume on the right side, and I'll get into that in a moment. Okay. Some of the benefits, just to kind of bullet point some of these, the footprints get you closer to the action, and that's because you're able to see inside the chart. You're no longer looking at just open, high, low, close. So most people will just look at the footprint, see a bunch of numbers, and they'll totally miss or overlook the patterns because you're going to get these intra-bar patterns, and things are going to jump out at you. Everybody's different. So don't dismiss it. Give yourself time to absorb what you're seeing. Watch how the market behaves at your levels, and see what happens. See what really comes out. Okay, so I kind of just said what I mentioned here. Unique footprint patterns will develop. We're going to teach you some throughout these sessions, We're going to show you some very specific ones and some trading tactics. However, you may find that there's some that pop out at you personally, and that's your edge. But we do cover these in future deep dives. See the emotions of the market. So remember my story of how this all came about? I was hearing the pit in my ear, in my headset, and I'm watching the market trade on screen, these electronic markets, and it became clear once the footprint came into being, I was now able to see the emotions of the market, because the emotions are essentially captured in volume and order flow. How active are traders, which gives you an idea of urgency, and then the order flow, are they buying, lifting offers, are they hitting bids? So the footprint gives you a whole nother dynamic to viewing and understanding market generated data, or understanding the auction. More confidence while trading. So ask yourself this question: what is it that caused you to take any given trade? Many times it's the here and now that provides the confirmation to take the trade. Well, if that's the case, and many times it is, the footprint gets you in, because you're inside the bar, you're inside the chart, you're going to be able to understand more what's taking place. And that, in turn, will provide more confidence. Just like any decision in life you make, the more information, more well-organized information that you have should lead to a better decision. And that's the goal here of the footprint. It's real-time, not lagging. It is not a lagging indicator at all. It is a real-time visualization of the auction at any given point. And the nice thing is you've got a current bar showing you this auction, but then you've got a full history available. It's right there. You can look at it, you can scroll back or pan the chart back and see how it behaved at certain levels, and really kind of reinforce things that you're looking for or not looking for. Real-time support and resistance. This is part of one of the other deep dive sessions. Anthony does a couple sessions near the end on, we're referring to them as easy zones, edge zone levels, and they're real-time support and resistance. And this is pulled out right from the footprint using a built-in algo that finds these real-time support resistance levels. You got to see those. So check out those deep dive sessions. I'm not going to be getting into those today. Represents the energy being exerted to a move. Well, energy is the volume. It's going to be how much energy is being put into the market. And that's simply a reflective of how much volume is coming in. A low energy market just doesn't have much volume. There's not much going on. High energy is going to have higher volume, and if it has high volatility with high volume, then it's game on. That's what us as traders are really looking for. And witness, okay, so last but not least is the footprint provides us the ability to witness volume develop vertically, not just horizontally. What do I mean by that? Well, in the past, we look at bars and candles, and we've got a histogram of volume along the bottom showing us the total volume over the course of each bar, and that's useful. I'm not playing that down at all. It's a big part of how many traders trade. However, the footprint gives us a vertical view of that, because we can break the volume down price by price vertically, and in any time frame we want. So it really adds another dynamic when it comes to volume. So if you're a trader that really likes volume, really relies on volume, the footprint is your tool. We talk to people almost every day that's like, where have you been all my life? I wish I had a good answer for that, but I guess I'd say, where have you been all our life? It's like it's a match made in heaven. If you're a trader that uses volume, the footprint you'll find is probably one of your go-to tools. All right, so let's now jump into these 5 footprint types. I'm going to break them down, and then we'll jump in and do a live demo of these. But so I don't got a lot of graphics here. It's a lot of text and just describing them, and then we'll get into it. But each footprint type is unique in the value that it provides. So the first is the volume footprint. It shows you the total volume traded at each price. That's that one I showed you where it just showed you the total amount of volume traded at a particular level. The bid-ask footprint really takes the total volume and breaks it down into the bid traded volume and the ask traded volume. So just to kind of describe that a little bit further, each price, just pick a single price. As it trades in and out, sometimes it's the bid price, sometimes it's the ask price. The footprint classification algorithm keeps track of that, and that's what you see in the footprint. It shows you all the bid traded volume, and then all the ask traded volume to the right of X. So this X that you see, you'll see that on the footprint. It'll have a number, X, another number. And this X doesn't mean any multiplication. It's simply a divider, just letting you know you got volume on the left and you got volume on the right. Delta. Delta is the net order flow at each price. So it is subtracting the bid volume from the ask volume. And that's all it is. It's just the net order flow. So you have a single number. It's either going to be a positive number or a negative number. Positive delta is more aggressive buying. That's how we describe it. And a negative number would be, we call it negative delta. That is more aggressive selling at the price. There's many ways of looking at delta. And the session called Everything Delta in this deep dive series, watch that. It's you'll get a really good understanding of all the things you can do with delta and the many uses that it can have. Profile. This is the profile footprint. This is nice. This one doesn't have any numbers. It's a graphical display, so it's a graphical volume at price display. And then it also uses the delta, whatever the delta is at each price, it'll color code or color shade the background of this histogram, vertical volume histogram. So it's a very nice display because you get to see volume plus order flow in a visual manner. You don't have to read numbers. So there's going to be some of you that really like that one for sure. I know a lot of guys that run maybe the imbalance footprint or one of these other footprints and then have a profile footprint on another chart situated beside it, so they kind of have both views. The imbalance footprint, last but not least, this one it uses the bid-ask footprint. It's based on that. You're going to see a bid and ask-like display, but it doesn't use any background highlighting. Instead, it highlights the actual text and the numbers using a built-in algo that spots these order flow imbalances. So this is actually our newest footprint. It's been around a few years though, and it leverages our expertise just in understanding what was important to see, and really makes it a little bit easier. You're not seeing, you only have to focus on the ones that light up in color. Those are the ones where your imbalances exist and you can look to take action. So it's pretty nice. All right, so now let's look at a bid-ask footprint. This displays the breakdown of volume and how it traded. It's a number to the left of X is the bid traded volume, and the number to the right of X is the ask traded volume. Color is blue or green if it's more aggressive buying. And when I say color, that's that background color, the delta. It's giving you an idea of what the delta is for the bar. And the background be red if it's more aggressive selling. So that's really what it does. It'll shade the color that shows a level of aggression. So the darker the shade is the more aggressive, the lighter the shade, the less aggressive. So we'll get into some real-time examples in just a moment, but let me get through these. Delta footprint, it's the same. It's what I said. Red, it's more aggressive selling, and blue or green is more aggressive buying. but you only have a single number. You only have a single number in the footprint. So a positive number represents more aggressive buying, and a negative number represents more aggressive selling. Darker colors represent more aggressive buying or selling depending on the color. The colors are all configurable. So typically people are going to run with red for the aggressive selling. That's almost universal. And then the blue or green, those are almost always the colors for aggressive buying. Volume footprint, that indicates the total volume traded at each price. So as you could tell, I'm kind of reinforcing each of these. You're kind of hearing them all a couple times, but it reinforces the concept of what these things are. And that's the whole idea here. This is to learn. Darker shade represents greater volume. Profile footprint. Color of each footprint is determined by the delta, as I described in just a little bit ago. So the background color, that's not even the background color because there is no number. It's just showing you the color of each bar. You'll see is determined is basically determined by the delta. So red would be more selling, and blue or green would be more buying. Shape, this is a new one for this. Shape of each bar is determined by the amount of volume traded at each price. So the wider the bar, the more volume that occurred. The thinner or narrower the bar, the less volume that occurred at that price. So what you end up getting are these distributions, vertical volume distributions, and it allows you to see where the market is trading more or trading less. The imbalance footprint, this one has a built-in algo, as I mentioned, to color the imbalance. It's looking for these order flow imbalances, and when they exist, it will color the text, the actual number, the volume number. It'll basically compare or shade it green or red, whether it's a sell imbalance or a buy imbalance. But it compares the difference here in this one. And actually, before I go any further on this one, the imbalance footprint, we've actually have a session, an entire session where we go into detail on this. It's called the Imbalance Footprint Spotlight Deep Dive session, and it just looks at the imbalance footprint, gives a very detailed overview of how it's calculated, and gets into a bunch of examples and some use cases. So you definitely want to look at that for sure. But just briefly, it compares the bid below to the ask above. So it is a little bit different classification algorithm than all the other footprints. And where the other ones use an inline classification algorithm, meaning they look at just the trading at that price, this one, it compares them on a diagonal, looking at the bid below and the ask above. So the text color is blue or green only if more aggressive buying meets the imbalance threshold, which is gone into detail in the other deep dive video I mentioned. And the text is red only if more aggressive selling meets the imbalance threshold. So before we get into the demo and look at this stuff in real time, let's just look. These are the 5 all just built side by side. This is all the same market, same time frame, and so this is nice because here's the volume footprint over here, and this shows you the total volume at each price. Notice these ones right here. This was kind of a cluster of high volume really transacted at these couple prices, which is good information. You can see just it gives you an idea of where more volume or less volume traded. Let's just keep focus on these though as we kind of go across. Now we're looking at the bid-ask footprint over here, and this one breaks down the volume, the bid traded volume, in this case 816 and 1722 is the ask traded volume. So notice more volume traded at the ask, which represents more aggressive buying, and more trading at the bid is the sell volume. But the difference between these two is a positive number, which is the delta, 906, which is why this has a green background. This one has a green background, and so does this. They're the same thing. They're both, it's a positive delta of 906 contracts, and that's why it has that green background. So hopefully that makes sense. The background color is the delta, and you can look right over here to kind of see how that's all represented. Any negative number that you see over here is obviously it's a negative delta, which is why it gets the red background. Any positive number gets the green background, and that is a positive delta. Net buying is green, net selling is red. Jumping over to the next one, which is our profile footprint. This one is the volume distribution. So the width of these bars right here, jump all the way over to this one. The biggest number right here is this one, right? 2712. You can see that's why this is the widest bar. So the width of these is simply determined by the amount of volume that traded therein. Okay, hopefully that should be pretty straightforward. Notice the real low volume that traded at these prices, and if you look over, you can see that right here. See, you'd never have any idea of this on a candlestick chart or bar chart. This is when we say see inside the chart or see inside the bar. This is why. The footprint really blows it wide open, allowing you to see how the auction happened. And you can look at these in any time frame. Don't just think these are like 1 minute or 5 minute bars. You could look at these on daily bars if you wanted to see how it all shapes up, which is real interesting. And then you got your candle right here. It opened here, closed here. This is your tail, your wick, and so is this. And last but not least is our imbalance footprint. Now you notice these numbers, right? They're the exact same numbers you see over here on the bid-ask footprint. And so it is, the numbers all tabulate just like the bid-ask footprint. However, the classification algorithm that's using our imbalance, shading these green or red, is looking at this bid traded versus this ask traded. So it's a diagonal relationship all the way up. And when it meets a threshold or certain criteria, it shades it either a buy imbalance, which is green, or a sell imbalance, which is red. Definitely watch the imbalance footprint spotlight deep dive video. It is very good. You'll get a lot out of that, and it'll unlock a lot of the questions you might have regarding this. So with that said, let's jump into our demo. And this is real-time market. We've got about a half hour to close, 45 minutes to close. This is the S&P E-mini. It's been a pretty quiet day. But this is the volume footprint. So what have I got? This is a 5-minute chart. So this is showing us the total volume that traded at each price, and each bar represents 5 minutes. So here's our current bar. You can see we're actually getting a lot of volume up here at this 4650 level, which is why it's got a dark background, and you can actually see how much. So it's kind of nice, if nothing else, to be able to see where market's being challenged, especially as it presses into higher prices, where that comes in, because a lot of times that can shut off buying. And the same goes on the downside as it pushes into newer low prices. All right, so I'm going to walk through how to get around here. Let's right click and modify FP, and this opens up the settings window. So source, I'm just going to show you this. We won't spend much time, but the source type, when it's set to bar, think of bar as time-based bars. If I wanted to go to a point and figure or a reversal based, set your box size. Almost always you're going to be a box size of 1 and reversal 4. If I hit Now, reversal is the one you'll really change a lot. Box size is typically 1. But for those of you who use reversal bars or point and figure based, this would be how you do that, 1 by 4. Notice that I just hit apply and you can see how the chart, it's a 1 by 4 reversal. But let's stick with our good old 5-minute chart for now. And see where it says style, volume? This is where you change between those 5 different footprint types, and we'll look at each of these, but right now let's focus just on our volume footprint. Other than that, threshold allows you to set a volume threshold. So if I said 200, hit apply, it's only going to show me prints that had 200 contracts or more. So the large lots, like a large lot filter. And so you can see where the large lots traded and how that is reflected down here in Delta. So I'm going to remove that actually, hit apply. If you hit display, this is where you can really change some of the coloring if you want and different things, which I'll touch on that in some of the other ones. So let's change this to a bid-ask footprint and focus on this 5852, because when I change it to a bid-ask, you're actually going to see how that volume occurred, what the breakdown is here. And so here it is right here. It has a positive delta, and you can see how the volume occurred. 3160 on the offer, 2692 when it was the bid. Okay. One of the options you can do here on the bid-ask footprint is, if I hit display, you can hit dominant side, hit dominant, and hit apply. What it does is it shades just the side that had basically whichever side was the dominant side. So if you look at any of these footprints, whichever side had the bigger number, it shades it, which you'll see is basically what the delta is. So in this case, we're looking at this. Well, let's look at the current bar. We've got these two upper prices have a positive delta right now, and these have a negative delta. Of course, this is the current bar. This could change, but some people like to look at it this way. I'm just pointing this out. Go back to the way it was. Let's see, some of the other stuff you can do, color changes. If I wanted this to be blue instead of green, some guys like it this way, and then you just keep your candles green. You can see they pop out a little bit more. I'll change it back though for now. Go back and let's change to delta. So now we're going to change from our bid-ask to just the net buying or net selling. You'll notice here as I do this change, the background colors are all going to stay the same because delta is delta, but we're not going to see the breakdown. We're just going to see the net buying or net selling. The nice thing about this footprint is it's a little narrower, so we can see a little more chronological, information on the chart. All right. Some of the things worth noting here. Notice down bars. Down bars tend to there's a high correlation between price direction and delta. So a down bar will tend to have more negative deltas or negative just negative delta across the board, and up bars tend to have more positive delta. When that doesn't occur, that's what we call delta divergence, and you're starting to see dislocation, and that could be a good trading opportunity. Down at the bottom is a study called delta bars, and what it is a total. It's totaling up. If you took and added up all these deltas, that's what you see down here. So this is actually cumulative delta. So let me make a change. I don't want to get into this right now because this one is described in the delta everything video, but all it is it's summing up all the deltas on a bar by bar basis and giving you an indication on a bar by bar what happens. This is a very useful indicator, and you want to watch that video as well so you have a good understanding of how to apply that. right click, modify, delta, and I'm going to click profile. So now we'll look at it on a profile. This is the graphical view. And one of the first things I like to do when I come into this one is I'll click display and width, and I'll set it to manual. And if I hit apply, I usually like to put it about 60, 65 or so. It makes it a little bit more, a little thinner. And now you're looking at vertical volume distribution along with that delta coloring. So now I'm on a 5-minute. If I type in 30, hit enter, now I'm looking at a 30-minute chart. So you can see this is the day session. I have my chart set up to just show me the day session. So you can see we gap lower, and it's just been really not doing too much today. Only about an 9 point range. So just rotating back and forth. But you can see how it is. Now if I grab the price scale here, you can see I can scrunch it up or expand it. And so now one of the benefits of market delta, I should have touched on this in one of the first ones, is you can see every price here right now, right? Every price is represented. However, if I scrunch this down, watch, it'll aggregate and you'll see the prices kind of, see how it just snapped right there? What it does is each footprint cell represents a couple prices. And this is something don't take for granted because you won't see this anywhere. It auto aggregates the data into a footprint, so you still have the data, but it allows everything to fit in here. And here's where this is helpful. If I go to like CLE crude oil, crude oil trades a lot of prices, and if I zoom, I can zoom in, like this, see every single tick. But if I there, just snap, and then it aggregates it. So it allows me to see the info, but see there, it aggregated again. So this can be real helpful. So let me go back to the E-mini, and let's go back to our 5-minute. Oh, looks like we put in new highs here. All right, so right click, modify, and I'm going to go back to display and put it back to auto min, which is the default, and go back. And now we'll take a look at the imbalance footprint, and I'm going to hit apply. So this footprint, again, you kind of get back to that bid-ask display, but it's showing us just the order flow imbalances that came in. Lots of good strategies come out of this. I'm not getting into them, but one of them, it can help keep you on the right side of the trend. Notice you're only seeing these buy imbalances here. So that can help keep you long, or at least from taking shorts, until you maybe get one where you see this thing light up red, giving an indication that the order flow is beginning to roll over, at least at the top of this bar, just like you saw here. If I look over to this bar was all you see nice order flow imbalances here until it gets up to here. It finally got challenged, and yes, it has gone on to put in higher highs, but look what happened when we got that nice challenge right here. It rolled back a couple points, and then we get they finally step back in, driving it higher. So it really is a nice way, in a real-time manner, to keep you abreast of the auction taking place and help keep you on the right side of the market. And like I said, if nothing else, keep you from the wrong side of the market. And that's worth a lot right there, just being able to have that view. If you can't see the value in that, I'm not sure what else to say. But that is the value of the footprint, because you're looking inside the footprint, or inside the chart. When you can see inside it and explode the view from just an open, high, low, close to being able to see volume and order flow, naturally you're going to be able to extract useful information. And this footprint has been dialed in to show you that. So hopefully you can see that benefit. All right, so let's go to, I want to flip over just to a candle chart, and I want to show you something that if you start to use the software, I don't want you to get confused on this. So I've got a 5-minute just S&P chart, nothing special, and you can see it's set to candle here. footprint, we have it coded up in a couple ways. If you see FP here, if I click FP, that changes it over to a footprint. This is the chart type. If I go back to candle, there's my candle. However, when you're not on a footprint, like in this case, I'm on a candle, I can right-click and add study, and you're going to see one called footprint indicator. Now, you also probably see it on your program, on your installation footprint. This is the footprint indicator. What is the difference between footprint indicator and footprint chart? Well, footprint indicator is meant to be added on top of another chart type. So I'm going to click setup, and let's just change my imbalance to 400. This is covered in another video, but I'm going to add it. So you can see what it did is it added the footprint on top of the candle. See, the candle is still here. And that's that, right? That's how it worked. So I'm going to right click to remove it. So here's my candle chart. If I click footprint, it just adds the footprint right next to the candle. So that's nice. Another way, let's see, do I got it? No. Another way to do this is to have I know that might be kind of hard to see, but this is just a good old-fashioned point and figure chart here, right? You all see the X's and O's. If I click footprint here, notice it adds a footprint right next to point and figure. So if you're a point and figure trader, this should like totally geek you out, because now you're looking literally inside the X's and O's, seeing volume and order flow. And that's we've had great response from point and figure guys, because being able to see this, your X's and O's, however you want. This is a 1x4. You know, I could do a here's a 1x6. So you can look at this however you want. 1,10. There's my 10 tick reversal chart. And anyway, I just want you to see that's the difference between footprint indicator and footprint chart. So here's the indicator. I'm going to right click to remove it, and I'm back to my X's and O's. And if I want to change these X's and O's back over to footprint, I can just click FP, and I'm back. So that really should give you a pretty good understanding of not just what each footprint type is, but you kind of got a little quick tutorial on how to get around the software and see how to change and manipulate the footprints. It's pretty easy, but simply right click and modify, and that's where you get the screen to do everything. Now I'll just touch on one that's a little more advanced, but this highlight, if I click highlight it, there's a bunch of other metrics we can apply. Probably one of the most popular is the POC. So if I add that, and I'll just go with it. Okay, so what it does is it adds the point of control, which is the high volume print, the VPOC, volume point of control, or high volume price, gets a little yellow box around it. This is kind of nice because you can now look across, going back in time, where that high volume level is. Is it moving higher and higher? There's all kinds of things you can apply. One important thing I'll just point out here, let me remove that. Notice this cluster of high volume that kind of came in right up here in these highs, and just now it just retested it. But this is where the footprint is just invaluable to guys, because you're able to look inside the bar. You can see as the market traded into these new highs, it really ran into some resistance in the form of sellers just sitting here absorbing the demand, which you get a swelling in volume, and that capped it. They retested it, which they always like to do, not always, but oftentimes like to do, and the market rolled down, auctioned the other way, and that's where we're at right now. So Anyway, hopefully you found this session helpful. Continue on in the deep dive series. Watch all the videos. You'll get a lot out of them. This is solely dedicated to helping you get better using the footprint and understanding what it is. If you have any questions about it, reach out to us. We're more than happy to talk with you. You can call us. You can email us. But we are the footprint experts. We're the creators of the footprints. So you're in good hands. We want to help you get the most out of it. So thanks for watching and make a great day.